This is The American Asian, and I'm your host, Sau Fong O'Fallon. Have you ever torn a sheet of paper with both hands? How about 10 or 20 sheets? Okay, how about 50 to 100 sheets? If you haven't tried 100 sheets, you can rightly presume that it gets harder to tear with more sheets. But hold on to this thought. We'll come right back to this. Now, whether one sees it or not, our society is going through a woke Maoist insurgency or woke cultural revolution. The woke are those who have taken on the worldview of critical social justice and have been deemed as American leftist or American Maoist. According to Yukong Mike Zhao, a survivor of Mao's China Cultural Revolution, he draws parallels between what the radical left is doing in America and China's Cultural Revolution 50 years ago. Zhao notes that Chinese Maoists and American leftists have both these things. A. Created Marxist lies to establish moral authority and divide societies. B. They censor and cancel their opposition. C. Radically change the culture and rewrite history and indoctrinate citizens. There are many important lessons we can take away from Dr. James Lindsay's Surviving a Modern Struggle Session podcast. We learned that one of the most famous and most evil techniques of Maoist Marxism is the struggle session, which were made famous during Mao's Cultural Revolution, 1966 to 1976. But they were utilized in the Chinese thought reform or brainwashing prisons starting in the early 1950s under the CCP. How the woke are trying to force change into society today is by unleashing the strategies of those horrific struggle sessions. In these brainwashing tactics, the woke mob's goal is to get you to tear off pieces of your soul, to give it to them to define it for you, for they will rehumanize you. They will establish this by pressuring their target victim to denounce or betray friends or families and even get their friends to expand the pain of the struggle session with any smears the mob has made up about the target. They will struggle highly influential targets in today's public square, which is social media, and may overwhelm and harass targets by unleashing fake accounts or bots to smear them. The intent is to get you to confess or yield something in order to get the mob to stop harassing you, for they may get you kicked off the social media platform if you don't, and that could injure the livelihood for some by doing that. But more than just hurting your reputation, the key in the mob's campaign to struggle you is to break you psychologically, making you feel that your friends are turning or abandoning you. Their targets must be prepared to find out who their real friends are here. Some may not want to become targets themselves, so they may not stand up for you. However, do not rely on your friends because the strength ultimately must come within you. They're trying to get you to demoralize yourself, and then this will demoralize others when they see this happening. So one either survives a struggle session or they don't, but you must never give in. If you give in some, even a little bit, then you have chipped away a part of yourself, and that is what they want. So don't feel you have to explain anything to them because it will not work. It would only intensify things. If you explain things, then that means you are losing. They will get you to give in to guilt somewhat. So if you say something to the effect like, I don't think I've done anything wrong, but I can see why you would think that, then they have dominated you as you gave some confessions. Then they will look for full measure of your guilt. They're trying to get you to denounce something. And if you do, then they've got you, because they have effectively humiliated you by getting you to do or say something that you didn't need to. So do not be a tool of this communist ploy, and do not presume that they're good faith actors, for they're actually violent manipulators. Just remember that. They want to affect their target's entire being, even if symbolically through emotional abuse. They want to attack the parts of your loyalties and beliefs to one's sense of self and your standing in the community. Their goal is to kill off the part of you that they deem problematic, the socially connected part. They want to affect social death within your social circles. They want to isolate you so you are vulnerable until you don't know who you are and where you stand. Their dehumanizing goal entails estranging you from yourself and from others by making you do the denouncing, thereby self-betrayal. They will want you to drag your friends into this toxic circle due to your fear of annihilation. The person who has been struggled must therefore adopt the woke cult group's higher morality. This cult indoctrination is about grooming the target to not just feel guilty, but to groom so that the guilt and shame felt is that of the environment that the woke need you to admit until you are completely destroyed. Wow. So know that some of the woke may have been brought up to this point themselves through these unbelievable psychological and social pressures. The failure of one's human limitations to the standard they've shamed the target with will cause them to blame other people and visit that abuse on others. And that's why the woke act the way they do. Struggle sessions are happening at your kids' schools and at your workplace. Know that social emotional learning is designed to put pressure on your children, and DEI and ESG trainings are forced upon you at your work. If your kids speak up at school, they will get struggled through kids bullying them or by the school just not helping them out. In the workplace, your job just might be threatened if you speak out. But know this, when you start accepting the thought reform and believe that they're guilt and shame, well then this is the most dangerous part of the thought reform, for this is when you give in and adopt the woke. Now that the woke cannot get you banned on the social media hyper-reality, they have lost their trump card there. But they will still try to disparage your identity. Remember that we must break the cycle. Don't pull others into the session. If you happen to see someone you look up to being struggled, do not add nor contribute to it in order to satisfy your curiosity, but recognize that it is a leftist spear campaign going on, and acknowledge that the opposite must be true. Try to remove yourself from the situation unless you know how to fight it. Break the power of the struggle sessions by acknowledging or calling out what they are doing. They are engaging in grooming, so that means they're groomers. You can survive this, but you can't go to war with people who get sucked into every psychological operation that comes along their way. If people leave you through this, when they see you struggled, then they were dead weight who would have only brought you down. So be with real people. Here are some pointers if you are in a struggle session, some suggestions for what you should and should not do. For the should do, first, you can hit back when you can on the ridiculousness of the whole thing. Mock it so you can take away their stick. 2, you can log off online so you don't have to look at it. 3, you can file complaints if at work. While it might intensify things, it's still just best to get a paper trail going. 4, and this is the most important, have real friends in real life, not just online, so they can help you stay psychologically grounded. Now for the should not do. Number 1, do not give in by trying to clear the air. Number 2, do not throw someone else under the bus. 3, do not do what they are asking of you. 4, do not believe a lie. It's a lie. 5, do not rely on most of your friends to come to your defense, lest you get disappointed. 6, do not get suicidal. Do not get suicidal, okay? And number 7, do not take it personally. Just let it burn out. So before I share some real-life scenarios, I strongly encourage you to listen to the full and robust podcast from which I only shared some takeaways from. Go to newdiscourses.com, and in the search tool, you can type in Surviving a Modern Struggle Session. So newdiscourses.com and search for Surviving a Modern Struggle Session. So here are 2 real-life scenarios I'd like to share. Scenario A, struggled at the gym. I reflect back on a time that a fitness director friend of mine had posted on social media his disappointment with a certain politician coming into office. There wasn't a lot of detail on that post, but he just voiced his displeasure with this politician. Now, my friend is white and a very patriotic male, but he got reprimanded as a racist on that post by a black female. This was really strange because there was nothing that he posted that would make anyone think he's racist. It's just that he didn't approve of that white male politician. And there wasn't anything else said on that post. So rightfully, my friend lashed back by unleashing facts about the politician that proved the politician was the racist. My friend pushed back the shame on you comments to the false accuser. So my friend apologized for nothing and did not give the false accuser an inch. None of the, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend, oh, I'm not a racist. None of that rhetoric that the woke tend to expect from their victims. What was also powerful for me to witness was the deluge of supporters that my friend received via comments on that post, as many of us minorities encourage him that he is not a racist. The support was so overwhelming that the false accuser even made a comment on it. So gratefully, there wasn't anyone who commented with curiosity as a busybody, which could have given a foothold for the false accuser to jump on. The best part is that many of us who supported my friend have actually become closer friends, and now we understand that we as a community of individuals can stand together for each other and encourage one another. We are all real friends, in person as well as online. Scenario B, struggle at the workplace. There was a friend of mine who was struggling with the forced microaggressions training toward minorities that was taking place at her workplace. She was a gorgeous blue-eyed blonde who was very kind to everyone. When discussing what she had learned at the forced microaggressions class, she told me that she was scared to death by all of it. And I can see how it would frighten her, as it seems that anything could be deemed as offensive. She was pleasantly surprised to hear me declare that all of this was a bunch of crap. Yeah, I said that. And for her to not fall for it. I explained to her that these are programs that are being pushed corporately due to ESG pressures, and that even her own boss may not have had any say about all of that. I believe and hope that in enlightening her to the nonsense that it all was, did in fact help her to not be so afraid. I sense our conversation was accomplishing the part of having a real friend in order to keep her from the paralysis of fear that the workplace struggle sessions were trying to push. So between my friend and I, we called it out so that it lost some of the power it meant to have over her. Now, remember the illustration at the beginning of this podcast regarding the multiple sheets of paper being more difficult to tear? Well, along with truth from Ecclesiastes 4, verse 12, which tells us that, quote, and if one can overpower him who is alone, two can resist him. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly torn apart, end quote. So my encouragement for you today is that you gather up and get to know real people to stand together with, as Dr. Lindsay has strongly advised. Online friends are fine, and that's one thing, but the necessity of having real friends and community will help you stay sane when this Maoist woke cultural revolution that is taking place today comes your way. Find your community of individuals and be there for them when they get put through their struggle session. It might actually be fun to gather some friends together, some real people together, and make an event out of listening and learning from the lengthy and powerful Surviving the Struggle Session podcast that Dr. Lindsay has put together. Watch it together, make an event about it, encourage each other, and learn from it. Well, I am Sau Fong O'Fallon, and I will see you next time at the American Asian. Have a great day.